everyone, Linda Prokope here from the Impact class. Sorry I couldn't be with you in person, so instead I'm delivering my presentation in the green room for you all to watch. I'm talking about the course that I am developing for my Impact training. That is FNR, Forestry and Natural Resources, 488 Global Environmental Issues. I'll be teaching this course in fall of 2016. A little bit of background about the class. The course is required for students in the Department of Environmental and Ecological Engineering. A majority of the students who are currently enrolled in the course come from that department and from Forestry and Natural Resources, the home department for the course, although it's not required for our students. The course fulfills a global understanding requirement for all students in the university, which might be one way that I can try and increase enrollment. The course is currently taught by a faculty member who's been teaching it for a number of years, mostly as a traditional lecture course, although what he does is after the first month or so of the semester, he splits out the Fridays. So students have to sign up for 4 discussions during the course of the semester. Those discussions are held on Fridays, and students either attend a discussion facilitated by the professor or a discussion facilitated by the TA. So they are getting some smaller, more intimate learning environment with those discussions. The course is 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 50 minutes at a time. There are currently about 48 students in the class, and I'd like to see some more students. I'd like to get up to about 60 students for some of the activities that I'm planning, and so I will be doing some advertising of the class. The class I don't think has ever been advertised before. The learning outcomes that I've been working on through my Impact training are similar to the ones that have been used in the past, but have certainly changed. The first learning outcome, I want students to be able to explain the issues, facts, and concepts that are central to a broad range of environmental topics. As you can see, that's at quite a low level of Bloom's taxonomy. But then we'll move up to higher levels as we shift into the second learning outcome, where I want students to be able to apply scientific evidence to form ethically grounded opinions on controversial environmental topics, which I'm looking at across 2 different taxonomies, so the cognitive taxonomy and also the affective taxonomy. And then the third learning outcome, I want students to be able to assess proposed solutions to environmental problems, really moving up to a high level on Bloom's taxonomy for that learning outcome, which I think is very appropriate for a 400 level class. While there are no prereqs for this class, it is still a 400 level class, and I will be pushing students and challenging them to be at this high level on the taxonomy. Some of the active learning strategies that I plan to use, I plan to have students do a lot of pre-work. There'll be some reading, there will be videos, and I'm thinking I'm going to use a lot of TED Talks. There are an awful lot of good TED Talks out there on global environmental issues, and so it seems really silly for me to stand in this green room and create videos about climate change and water scarcity and the food, energy, water nexus, when I could find some brilliant person who does a great, dynamic, engaging talk out there for free. I will, of course, close caption those videos that I find or any that I create myself. And I'm planning on using quizzes with those videos to ensure that students are actually grappling with that material before class. And the quizzes will probably cover reading work or material covered in both the reading and the videos. Students will also write essays before they come to class, not before every class, but they will be writing essays, and I'll talk about that more on the next slide. Once they come to class, they'll be doing group work and presentations, and my goal is to have a completely flipped classroom. I do not want to ever lecture in this class. I've done a lot of active learning in the past. I actually teach a lot of courses on facilitation and community involvement, which lend themselves to active learning strategies, because I'm teaching active learning strategies. But I've never done a completely flipped classroom, so I'm really excited about the opportunity of doing that. So one of the main activities we're going to be doing are, I'm calling country activities, and the pre-work for those activities. Each student will be assigned to a group of 3 students, and they will be assigned a country. It will not be the country that they were born in. So for example, a student born in the US will not be assigned to the US, a student born in China not assigned to China, etc. And then before class, they will, for each topic that we cover, so climate change, population growth, water scarcity, etc., 1 student per group will be assigned to write an essay on one of the following 3 questions. And I'm going to rotate those questions, so students will write essays on different questions for different topics, just to sort of spread that around and have them learn about different things. So 1 student will write about how did this country contribute toward the problem. Another student will write what impacts will there be on this country because of this problem. And third, what solutions would this country like to see? So they'll be demonstrating competence as they answer these essay questions. And then when they come to class, on the first day that we're covering a topic, I anticipate students will meet as a group first with their small little group, excuse me, of 3 people, and they're going to share what they learned about their country. After they each share what they wrote in their own essays, remembering they're writing essays about different facets of the issues they're really going to have to share with each other, they're going to talk about what countries might they ally with on this issue. And they're going to have to go talk to different countries and see, are we on the same page? Do we want the same kind of solutions? And then on the second day, we're going to have a mini United Nations to develop solutions, and then we'll do some debriefing, obviously. What I think is going to be really, really interesting for students through this exercise, there'll be a lot of things that will be interesting, but will be that they're not going to ally with the same countries for different topics. So, for example, right now, some big countries are allied on climate change, but they're not very allied on human population growth. And so it'll be interesting to see that play out and really discuss that and have some critical learning going on through that process. We'll see relatedness through this activity where they work together as a group, a small intimate group, first a group of 3, but then also connecting out with other students in the class. And then we'll see them demonstrating competence again as they do this mini United Nations exercise. Other activities that I'm planning, I'm planning on them doing some additional group activities. One where they will develop a rubric themselves for evaluating different solutions to global environmental issues. I could certainly hand them a rubric, but I'd much rather they develop it themselves. Similarly, they're going to develop a rubric for evaluating sources of scientific information, and they'll use both of those rubrics throughout the semester as they're doing different projects. They'll also get to select from a number of different optional assignments that I haven't figured out the points yet of each of these, but they'll probably have to do 2 to 3 different activities, and they can figure out which ones. They can attend a lecture on campus and write a reflection. There are a number of lectures on this campus on global environmental issues. They can attend a graduate poster session on campus focused on environmental issues and talk to 2 or 3 grad students and write a reflection. They can write a reflection about the class activities. They can read a post-apocalyptic novel and present or write about it and discuss the environmental themes. Similarly, they could watch a post-apocalyptic movie, or they could review a current news article and relate that to what we're discussing in course. And well, I'll do at least 1 exam, possibly 2. So they're going to have some autonomy as they get to pick from different assignments to do. We're going to see more relatedness as they do more group activities, and also more autonomy as they get to develop these rubrics for themselves. And competence with the exam, and I forgot to put that word up there. The final assignment that they're going to do, they're going to get a lot of autonomy with. They're going to get to choose if they do the final assignment as a group or by themselves. They're going to get to pick the topic, and I'll give them a number of topics they could choose from, but they could certainly suggest an alternate topic if my list is not comprehensive enough. And then they can either do an oral presentation in class, they could create a video that we will watch in class, or they can write a term paper. And I will have a common rubric for those 3 assignments, and I did a quick draft of that already, but I'll keep working on that. But I don't anticipate grading. I don't want to make my grading too challenging by grading differently based on the mode that they use. Clearly, I'll expect more out of groups than I would expect out of an individual, and that might be the one place where the rubric needs to be a little bit different. So we're seeing a lot of autonomy with that final assignment, a lot of competence as they discuss these different activities. There would also be relatedness, clearly, if they choose to work with a group. Educational technologies that I'm going to use, Blackboard certainly at a level that I've never used it before, and the videos. I debated using Hotseat. I went to a training on Hotseat. I experimented with it with one of my other classes this semester, but since I'm planning a completely flipped classroom, I don't think I will actually need Hotseat, but I am glad that I've learned about it, and I will probably use that in other classes. Classroom space. I need a space that's open, that has furniture that moves, that has a lot of space to move around and negotiate, and space for instructors to move around. The picture here is from a class I taught this semester. It was a 5-week class at the beginning of the semester, and as you can see, I do have my students always do a lot of active learning. Here they are in small groups. The room they were in had moving desks and chairs, or moving desks, I guess, which was nice, but it was too small for me to move around, so I couldn't actually move around very easily and get to all the different groups. So I need a bigger space with a lot more, where students can move, I can move, and we can do these really interactive activities. Students with disabilities and other considerations, I will be doing the closed caption videos. I'm going to divide the non-native English speakers between groups so that they're more included and less marginalized. I'm also hoping that having students write these essays before they come to class gives them a way to come to class more prepared. They know what we're going to be doing, they know what their role is, and they can take as much time as they need to prepare, which I hope helps students, whether they're extroverted, introverted, or have some sort of learning disability. And that's it, and I thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great class today. Thanks, bye.